Former CIA Director John Brennan, affectionately known as Penitentiary Face on the show, may have perjured himself when testifying about the inclusion of the Steele dossier in the 2016 election intelligence community assessment. Last week, CIA Director John Radcliffe declassified and released the CIA's internal review of the 2016 election assessment. In it, the review found, despite objections from multiple CIA managers to not include the Steele dossier in the 2016 assessment, Brennan showed a preference for narrative consistency over analytical soundness. When confronted with specific flaws in the dossier by the two mission center leaders, he appeared more swayed by the dossier's general conformity with existing theories than by legitimate tradecraft concerns. Brennan ultimately formalized his position in writing, stating that my bottom line is that I believe that the information warrants inclusion in the report. That discovery shocking congressional members and staff who recall Brennan testified behind closed doors that he did not advocate for the dossier to be included in the 2016 election assessment. I mean, Tony, should John Brennan go to jail at this point? I mean, seriously?
So the answer, yeah. Look, I know how things are done at that level. I've worked as the chief of Army's clandestine program. I've handled something called Blue Border, for those who know. At that level, you never accept a third party posit of anything. You don't ever do that. And the fact that he not only accepted it, he promoted it, he was involved as the director in the analytical process. That's unheard of. It's never done. That's like Chris deciding he's going to go down and sit on some listener's porch and broadcast to her personally, which I don't think you've ever done, just saying. But that's the level of kind of granularity this guy went to. So, and then when he was asked about it under oath, he lied about it. So if they don't do anything to this guy here, make his face penitentiary proof or something's wrong, because this guy lied and he set up.
Not only lied, Chris, but he also gave this information, briefed Obama, briefed Hillary Clinton on the whole, trying to make this Russia connection with Trump. I mean, purely political.
Well, I always like to remind that Penitentiary Face is the only major Washington figure that I'm aware of. I spent 10 years covering CIA, and my office was in the Pentagon for 10 years. This guy is a bad guy. He's not one of the good guys. And he's one of the guys that signed on to the felonious 51 letter, where they lied about the Hunter Biden laptop having all the earmarks of Russian disinformation. Oh, yeah. When you read that letter, immediately you knew that it was a lot of hooey, that it was completely false. We've got a tradition in Washington, we were just talking about it during the break, of senior, mostly intelligence officials going up to Capitol Hill. They're sworn in, they're under oath, and they lie repeatedly under oath. And then the senators don't do anything about it, and the news media doesn't do anything about it. And it turns out perjuring yourself to Congress is just fine. And John Brennan, he is known as Penitentiary Face for a good reason, and he's not one of the good guys. Look at all the stink that he's been involved with. And you're right, he was Obama's counterterrorism advisor when he should have been kicked out of CIA before then. And then he became director of CIA. And honestly, I like to remind people that Barack Obama was mentored by a member of the Communist Party named Frank Marshall Davis when Obama was a teenager. And then he picked the only Communist Party voter, Gus Hall voter in Washington, to become CIA director.
Jason, how do you break this down? I mean, do you think John Brennan is guilty in terms of saying one thing to the congressional members and now saying something else?
So I'm going to agree with Chris, first of all, on some things. First of all, I believe that your wife would not approve of you going and broadcasting directly to some woman, at her house. I'm just taking a wild guess.
We'll scratch that one.
The other thing is, in terms of what occurred with John Brennan in his testimony, it depends on where you look. A lot of people say that it was consistent with the Inspector General and what the Inspector General said in terms of it not being foundational to the assessment that was made. Did he include it? Yes, but it wasn't foundational. So again, I don't think that you're going to get anywhere with perjury unless it's really political.
Can I also say that they then used the Hillary Clinton political dossier with the FISA courts to get warrants to spy on Trump's inner circle, which is the most Soviet-style third world bunch of...
And the media covered it for months and months and months, and it was never apologized for.
And
information, truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.